Hello everyone, thanks for joining the webinar with us today. This will be the first webinar in our new Appraisd Experts series as part of the Appraisd Community. This is the first of an ongoing series of monthly webinars where we will focus on different areas of the application and give a deep look into some different functionality that you may or may not have seen before. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Richard Brereton, the Customer Success Lead at Appraisd, and I'm joined today by Alex King, our Product Manager. Hi, Alex.
Hi, everyone.
We're seeing increasing numbers of clients who want to include a ratings calibration process, particularly as part of their year-end review. So we're going to show you 3 common ways to manage this within Appraisd. The first 2 solutions leverage functionality that's available as standard as part of your Appraisd package. The last one will make use of our new import tool functionality, which is a bolt-on extra, but we'll give information at the end for how you can make use of any of these features if you wish. Alex is going to be running through 3 different scenarios today. We are using a sort of standard rating scale, a 1 to 5 rating scale in this demo. But as I'm sure you're aware, ratings in Appraisd are fully customizable. So you can have any numerical rating you want. You can even have a non-numerical rating scale. Ahead of the first scenario, Alex is going to show you how a manager might capture a rating as part of a year-end review, but also making use of our calculated score functionality to automatically generate an overall suggested score based on a number of other inputs. And then as part of that first scenario, we're going to show you the situation where a manager would provide a suggested rating for their team for the year-end review, and then that is then escalated to a department head or a more senior sign-off who will provide the final rating that's visible to the employee. So Alex, over to you to show us the first of those scenarios.
Fab, thanks, Richard. So we're already logged in here. As Richard said, we're just logging in as the primary manager, and we have one team member here, Heather, who we need to conduct the annual review for. So if we click in, we get a very basic review form. Of course, yours may include multiple sections. It might be pulling in objectives and 360 feedback. Just for these demos, we've kept it nice and simple. There's just a sort of competencies section which gets rated, and we can provide comments to each competency. So as you can see, I can provide my ratings in the normal way. I can even type in and I can provide my ratings after reading through what Heather's provided about herself. And you can see that as I go along and do this, we're using our calculated scores engine, as Richard said, to calculate a hidden rating that's basically an average of all of the ratings that I as a manager have provided. That's going to be used by our sign-off, who's our department head in this scenario, Anna, to have a look and help with their calibrated overall rating that they will be providing rather than me, the manager. Of course, calibrated ratings can take into account much more than just simple ratings like this. You can do it from multiple sections. You can take ratings off objectives, but we are just looking at a very basic example here today. After a manager's done this, we simply share and progress the review as normal. And here, in this case, we'll be sharing and progressing it to a sign-off stage. So we can go ahead and do that. Those comments become locked down. I can't edit them anymore, and the review is now with the sign-off, Anna Bradshaw. So what I'll do is I'll log in as Anna, and we can have a look at what it looks like from that sort of senior manager or department head role. So I've logged in just like that now, and you can see that I'm the sign-off for quite a number of people in my department, and I need to go through those reviews and provide the overall calibrated rating based on what the manager and the employee have said in the review. So here I am, first person's Beverly. I can read through also any comments that have been provided. If they had been provided, I can read through as well. and I get that nice sort of summary calculation of 3.8. So do I agree that, they're close to a 4, or perhaps actually I think this person's exceeded that and is a 3? We can complete these nice and quickly. All we need to do is share and close it, and we can select the next one that we want to complete. And once again, read through and provide the rating, the calibrated rating that we would like to provide as the sign-off. And you can do that very quickly and always continue on to the next ones that you have to manage. So that's the first demonstration. Richard, back to you.
Thank you very much, Alex. So the next scenario we're going to go through is similar to the first, in that the manager has gone through and provided some sort of suggested overall ratings for their team. But in this instance, they're going to be input into an overall report that can be pulled up by HR. And then HR can go through that report and modify any of the ratings in that report that they wish to calibrate any of those. And those updates made by HR are automatically applied back into those reviews, and then it's up to HR to release all reviews at the same time in order to make those responses visible. Now, it may be HR just going through the report themselves, but it may also be that that report is exported, taken to an offline calibration process where you may sit down and go through all of the data, and then provide a list for HR to go through and update those ratings in those reviews, and then release them all in bulk to the employees.
Fantastic. Yeah. So, yeah, exactly as Richard said, managers have already completed their sections of the annual reviews. And what we can do quite nicely is just have a look at one of the ones that I've completed as a manager. It looks much the same, except in this case, I provided the overall rating myself rather than going over to a sign-off. So this is the overall rating that I've provided as Jenny Jones. Now, Jenny Jones also happens to be the HR member in this account. So as a member of HR, what I can do is have a look at the report for the annual review ratings for 2023. And I can see all of those listed here. So we've got the users, the reviewers for the reviews, the people that have provided the scores, and also what the scores are. I personally like to group by reviewer. I think it makes it nice and simple, so I can have a look at each of the teams, team by team. And then what you'll notice that's different about this report is that I can actually go and moderate these as the HR member. So if I think the Holly is actually needs a 2 after the calibration process, I can come in and make these changes. I can make any changes to anyone that I'm an admin and moderator over. Now, this can be done regionally. If you have regional admin groups on, you can only, as a member of HR, make these moderation changes for those that you have rights over. So you can separate out who needs to do what moderation in the system. As you can see, once I've proceeded through the whole list, I can go ahead and save those changes, like so. In fact, let's go ahead and change this 2 in the system that we provided for our team member Heather to a 3 after moderation. And if we go back, we can have a look at how that score's changed. Here you can see it's now been changed from a 2 to a 3. Once HR have completed that moderation process, it's as simple as releasing all those reviews to the employees, which we do by closing them off. Now you can do that one by one if you are rating one by one, but we always suggest doing it in one go, releasing those off to make sure that the new calibrated scores and all the manager scores become visible to the employee. So that's nice and simple. Those reviews are now complete, and all the scores, including that calibrated score, are now visible to the reviewee.
Thanks, Alex. And it's worth noting with this solution, every component of the review is made visible and released to the employee at the same time. So unlike the first one where the manager may well have shared their comments and it's just a rating that is submitted independently at the end, with this solution, HR releases the entire review to the employee at the same time. Now, the final solution that we have is goes through a few more different stages. So we do have a number of clients where the first thing that happens at year end is the employee is, the manager is required to fill out a hidden review that is not shown to the employee, where they go in and provide their indicative rating for the year based on all inputs and all activity completed by that employee through the year. So they'd be expected to look through previous reviews and check-ins, performance on objectives, and then supply that indicative rating to the calibration process. You can trigger reminders for people who have not yet provided that indicative rating. And then once all have been completed, they would go to that external calibration process that I've mentioned before, probably by pulling a report from Appraisd and distributing it, or indeed you could sit with the calibration group and go through all of those ratings within Appraisd, and then using our import tool, import all calibrated final ratings back into Appraisd for the managers then to release to the employee, or indeed for them to be released in bulk, whatever is the appropriate scenario for you.
Yep, thanks, Richard. So yeah, I've logged in this account that does these indicative ratings, and the first thing you'll notice is that I have some indicative ratings that I need to provide for my team members. They are part of hidden reviews. These indicative ratings are not visible to the employees in any way in the system. And we have a separate annual review form, as Richard said, which is due in a little while, in 41 days. Let's go ahead and as a HR person in this account, what I can do is check whether anyone else is overdue in providing the indicative ratings, or is it just us? Go and do that. Have a look at the indicative ratings report. And we can see that actually all the ratings have been provided, except for our 2 team members down here. Now, of course, you could, if there were other people, go and chase them nice and easily in the system. But given it's us, let's go ahead and complete those indicative ratings so we can see what that looks like. So I've got my 2 team members. All I need to do is provide a nice, simple indicative ratings based on our 1 to 5 scale. Like so. And provide one for John. There we go. It's as simple as that. We now know that those indicative ratings have all been completed by everyone in the system. So as HR, we can come here and export this off to Excel for that offline calibration process, whatever that may be. Once you've completed that process, you simply need to provide back the Excel document to your customer success manager, who can get them imported into the system for you. Let's have a look at what it looks like once they've been imported. The first thing to note, and is very important, is those calibrated scores do not show to the reviewees when they're put into the system. They are just visible to the manager until the manager is ready to share all of their comments. So you'll see that I can't see the overall manager rating in my own personal review. That will only become available once Anna, my manager, has completed their comments and submitted them. But as a manager, I've also got reviews for my team members. You'll see that these are blank, they haven't been started. But if we have a look in that overall summary section, you can see that as part of the import, the overall manager's rating has been imported into the system as a 3. And I cannot change this myself. So that is a calibrated score that's fixed, and I can't change it. But I can provide the rest of the answers for the review. And once I'm done, the moderated score will be submitted alongside my other responses in the review to the employee, and it will follow your normal review process. So that's the third variation on calibrated scores that we can do in Appraisd. Now, there are a few more. If you are interested, do reach out to your customer success manager as well.
Thank you, Alex. One other thing that's worth noting on this third scenario is you do every now and again get the situation where a rating is challenged for some reason, and that calibrated rating does need to be updated. What we can do in that instance is clear out the rating that's been loaded in, and load a new one in for you. So that does happen. That can be done one by one, or we can sort of batch load a new set of ratings for the people where that rating does need to be updated. I hope you found all of those scenarios useful. As Alex mentioned, if you are interested in using any of these, please either reach out to your customer success manager or feel free to log your interest in the chat, and we will arrange for your customer success manager to reach out to you, discuss your process and the best combination or the best one of those solutions to manage your process. Now, I see we've got a couple of questions in the chat already. So Alex, if you could take the first one, how do you create an indicative rating report?
That's a very good question. So there are a number of ways of doing it. You can utilize our scores and comments report and use the filters. The other way of doing it, and actually would be part of the customer success team's job, if they're going to help you set up any of this calibration process, is they can create one of those reports for you as well. So you can have, that was a very basic one that just had sort of reviewee, reviewer, and the rating itself. You can include a lot more data points, pretty much to your heart's desire, be it their job role or what department they sit in, their location. All of those things can be added.
And that functionality makes use of our custom reports. They're not just limited to this indicative rating process. Many of you may have custom reports enabled already, but we have the ability to build bespoke reports for you to make it easier for you to access not just year-end review data sets, but other data sets throughout the year. There's a detailed question from Yolanda, but before I pass that one over to you, Alex, I'll just address the question from Emily. Can you choose to make the average rating made by the manager visible to the employee? Yes, you can, but it is configured at the form level, so it's typically either all average ratings are visible or all are not. So we do have people where that average rating is visible, and then particularly if it's to a decimal point like it was there and it's likely to be rounded up or down to the nearest integer, you may well want to make the average rating visible, and then when the sign off or the department head is adding the overall calibrated rating, you may well want to give them the opportunity to add a comment in there to explain why they have been rounded up to a 4 or down to a 3, for example. Or actually, sorry, the other way around. We had 1 as high and 5 as low in this instance. So yes, you can give full clarity over the initial calculated rating that was provided and then why it has been adjusted if it has. So Alex, Yolanda's asked, is it possible to have a report of the ratings for all employees in the same job category for comparison within the group? He's looking for the total rating from all reviewers for one person as compared to another person doing the same job.
Sure. Yes, Yolanda, that's perfectly possible. So you can either have them as separate reports, which can be configured for you by your CSM, or in fact, if we include it as a data point, so the job role is a data point on the report. In the demonstration, you saw that I grouped it by reviewer for the review. You can, in fact, group by the job role as well, which means that you can run through the job roles one by one within the same report and have a look at the different scores being provided.
Thanks, Alex.
No
And it's worth noting all of these ports can be exported to Excel if that's the platform of choice that you'd like to analyze your data in. We'll also be running these webinars monthly going forward. So we will release the schedule of those shortly. But if we very much want to be demand-led as part of the Appraisd community, so if there are areas of functionality or the performance management process that any of you are particularly interested in, please let us know and we can look to work those into the schedule. We have our next community webinar, which will be in May, and that will be around how to engage staff with the performance management process. So we had a Appraisd Community small launch event in London last month, where we had a workshop discussion around how to engage staff at all levels with the performance management process, and we will be having a deeper dive into that as part of a webinar, discussing some of those findings and providing our some recommendations about how you can engage staff with performance management, whether that's non-managers or whether that's sort of senior leadership and you need to get them to sort of buy in and complete the process. So please keep an eye out for that, and keep an eye out for more content from the Appraisd community going forward, as well as the webinars. If there's anything else you'd like to see from us as part of the community, please let us know. I'd like to thank you all very much for joining us, and hope you join us at these webinars going forward. And you can either contact your CSM for more information, or email support@Appraisd at any time about anything you've seen today or anything else that you'd like to achieve with Appraisd. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day.